Hi, I'm Kelly Dermody. I'm a partner at the law firm Lieff, Cabraser, Heimann Bernstein in San Francisco, California. So I'm from a small town in upstate New York, and when I was in junior high school, I had the first inkling that there might be something different about me. It was something I felt inside of myself, but it was actually primarily what people were reacting to in my peer group. So when I was in 7th grade, a number of girls started threatening me, stalking me, vandalizing my locker, pushing me. At some point, one of these girls jumped me, slapped me, tried to beat me up. It was really, really, really stressful, and it was very gender-based. One of the girls called me boy. This kind of harassing and stalking kind of went on for a couple of years on and off from 7th to 9th grade. And it was a really weird experience because at that age, you don't really have a word for what's happening to you. I didn't have a sexual orientation. I didn't really know what was happening inside of me. I knew I was getting this really negative attention, and it was really, really painful, and it was really shameful. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my siblings. I didn't talk to my closest friends about it. It was something I just didn't want to deal with, and it kind of just went on and on and on. By the time I got to college, I had a lot of sort of anger about myself and about the world and frustration, and I wasn't really very checked in to the academics of college when I first started. I felt really detached and disoriented, and I thought I really needed to take some time off. So after my sophomore year in college, I went down to Washington, D.C., and I actually volunteered for Senator Ted Kennedy, and I was working with his Judiciary Committee staff. And those folks are some of the most were some of the most amazing civil rights advocates in the country, really devoted to social justice, and it was really inspiring to work around these people, primarily lawyers, but also activists of all stripes. At the same time, I was living with a gay man in DuPont Circle in DC, which is sort of a gay neighborhood of DC, and it was my first gay roommate. And he took a shining to me and took me under his wing and thought it would be great if we went together to volunteer at an office for a gay march on Washington that was scheduled to be in the fall of that year. And so he and I would go to that office, and I would stuff envelopes very shyly, sitting at a desk next to these amazing activists who had been in the movement for years and years or decades. And just by being around people who absolutely expected to be treated equally, who thought there was nothing wrong with being gay, who knew there was nothing wrong with being gay, it sort of soaked into my pores. And I then was in DC during the March on Washington. This was 1987. And I had this complete awakening, I think, in myself, which was not about my sexual orientation, but it was about my self-esteem. And this realization that I was totally normal, that everything that had happened to me was external to me, the negative reactions and the sort of shaming that was happening. And once I had that feeling, it was this catharsis. I went back to college. I came out like a rocket, according to my roommate. I was part of a group of 6 students that demanded justice for gay students on campus, and we had a list of demands, and we had sit-ins and kiss-ins, and I mean, we were pretty, we were, I think, right for the time when there was a lot of direct action happening, but we were kind of even unusual among our peer group. And once I had that transition in myself, I really never looked back. And I sort of feel like I've been a full-time lesbian and kind of part-time activist ever since then. And it's all really an affirmation of my identity and kind of a giving back to the community, because there is something so powerful about believing in yourself and about knowing that your truth is absolutely equal to anyone else's, that there's nothing wrong with you, that you are entitled to have fairness from everyone, that once you feel that way, when people treat you poorly, you know it's about them and has nothing to do with you. It's their problem and it's not yours. So, as I said, since I came out, it made such a difference in my life. You know, I went from being kind of a mediocre student to being a really very good student. I went from being a relatively average athlete to being an all-American athlete. I mean, all these things were all about my happiness. I had so much energy for life. And when I was applying to law school, I actually wrote about this in my law school application. So every law school I applied to knew that they were getting an application from a lesbian, and I was very happy to be accepted where I was. And when I was actually starting law school, the very, very first day of law school, I realized that because I was going to be going to a school, I was going to be on the West Coast, not the East Coast where I was in school, a lot of folks wouldn't know me. Maybe no one in the class would know me. And I would have to come out to everyone all over again. And there was something about being out that just felt so great, and I didn't have to talk about it anymore. I didn't want to have to go through that again. So the very first day of law school class as a 1L, I walked into school wearing a t-shirt that said Queer Nation. That was my first day of law school. And so I made immediate friends with the students in class who were the gay students, the closeted gay students, the sort of social justice kids. We all just sort of found each other very, very fast. And I didn't have to bother with coming out after that. I was out in the school, and it took care of it. And since that time, when I applied to work for a federal judge, I was out on my resume. When I applied for my jobs for the summer and afterwards, out on my resume. I've been out to all of my clients. There are some clients that I work with who, for various cultural reasons, are not used to dealing with a gay person. And some of those clients, I haven't, in the first meeting with them, made it obvious that I was a lesbian, but without doubt, by the time a case was over, I made sure that every person that I've worked for has known that a lesbian has worked for them. And because of our kind of relationship and how much they know I care about their issues, I hope I had played a little part in changing some hearts and minds out there. And I think that that's just kind of part of what I've wanted to do in my whole life, is just really be myself, have integrity around my identity, and hopefully make the world safer for other people. I get so much joy out of that. I think that's just part of my mission, and that's what motivates me now to come forward and do this video. I'm Kelly Dermody. I'm a partner in the law firm Lieff, Cabraser, Heimann Bernstein, and I'm here to tell you it gets better.